Which brings us to the Packers at the Lions. So, seller on the Lions, or at least that's me. I think all of us. A bit of a seller on the Lions recently, but then they showed us more of those fourth quarter comeback challenges last week, and
looked pretty bad for a while there too.
In the first half, against Carolina,
with two interceptions in his first 8 pass attempts for Matt Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, after that, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions.
And this is coming off of that game with the Bears that was just horrible. One of his
5
worst
interceptions,
performances I've ever seen.
And the finger obviously is starting to feel a little bit better. Now, this was against Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
You got to take that into consideration. But the Packers have allowed a ton of passing yards too, mostly because they're ahead. Now, this game, with Aaron Rodgers scoring like he does, but if anyone could really do some things against Aaron Rodgers, it's a good pass rush, what the Lions have. 17 points down, the Lions have come back from 3 times this season. They've been down 17 points and have come back and won games 3 times this season. That bodes well for this. That means if Aaron Rodgers gets them that big lead right off the bat against Green Bay, they have a chance. They could stay in there. Kevin Smith, absolutely huge. What a great story for the Detroit Lions.
Amazing story.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Ripped that starting quarterback job right out of Maurice Morris's hands. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the guy next week.
Absolutely.
And it could be another, if he has another big game next weekend, there's no reason to think that he could pull another DeMarco Murray and just rip the starting position out of Javid Best's hands as well.
And he's a good
Javid Best is not a top 10 running back or anything.
They're similar in that they're both good pass catchers, kind of scat backs, not going to be huge between the tackle players, though Kevin Smith did run with power in this game. Now, one thing I did feel good about for Matthew Stafford, too, is that early on in the season, the big knock on him, he was just leaning and relying on Calvin Johnson.
Right.
None of those 5 touchdowns in this game went to Calvin Johnson. He's spreading it around. Nate Burleson, both of his tight ends, Scheffler and Pettigrew, getting involved. So, I think Green Bay is going to lose a game before they go to the postseason.
But not this one?
I think they would.
And if not this one, which?
I think they would be good. I think it would be good for them to lose a game, possibly. Get that pressure off their shoulders. I do think it is this game. I think the electricity for that Monday night game, the first one in a long time in Detroit, was huge. And I think the electricity on Thanksgiving for finally a Detroit team that has a chance to win a big game on Thanksgiving. Right. The last time they won a Thanksgiving game was against Green Bay a while back. But, this is the game Green Bay loses.
This is not the game Green Bay loses.
I agree with you, but I'm going to go with the Lions anyway.
I think that if Green Bay loses a game this season, they're going to lose one of those gimme games. I think is what's going to happen. It's going to be one of those Jaguars-Baltimore situations, right? Where it was Monday Night Football, jazzed up, playing defense. One big offensive mistake. In that case, it wasn't giving Ray Rice the ball, and it'll just be, what happened there? Because the thing is, when it comes to pressure situations, the Packers excel. We saw that in the playoffs last year. Lots of hype, lots of, I don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to do this or that. I don't know what's going to happen because Starks is now dealing with injuries. What's going to happen with their running game? Listen, this is not going to be the game they lose. I think if they do lose this season, it's going to be a gimme game and not this Thanksgiving game. Honestly, I think that the Packers are going to go undefeated in the season, and I do think that their realization point was last weekend. Mm-hmm. You heard Aaron Rodgers in that press conference after the game, and it was I really don't know what happened today. I couldn't throw the ball. It wasn't coming out of my hand well. I wasn't finding guys. He did. He threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was disappointed with himself to no end. He felt like he lost that game. Maybe that was their point of realization.
It's kind of a tough schedule for Green Bay the rest of the way, and we'll go over both Green Bay's and Detroit's schedule right now the rest of the way
Let's
here.
Go ahead. Let's start with Green Bay.
They got 2 games against Detroit. This one and another.
Uh-huh.
They got the Giants.
Right.
They have Oakland. They have Chicago. Very likely all playoff teams that I just mentioned, and then they have Kansas City as well on the schedule. So 5 of these games on possible playoff contending teams. You still think they're going to go undefeated?
Yeah. I do.
I think that's fair.
I do think
it's
that they're
fair.
going to go undefeated.
Detroit, though. Detroit would really help themselves out winning this game because they go to they play New Orleans next. Then they play Oakland. They play Green Bay again. They got Minnesota, which is kind of their gimme game, and they got San Diego, which San Diego looks terrible now. And they might look terrible then too, but who knows? With you got a pretty good team in San Diego and pretty good players that could beat anybody in any given day, but can lose to anybody any given day. So that could go either way. So tough schedules for both of these teams.
I don't want to be too reactionary about the Lions. Is my thing. I mean, the Lions were able to pull off a great running game this past weekend, which has been their problem. They've been one-dimensional, and not only were they one-dimensional, but they were only throwing to Calvin Johnson. Well, now he's spreading the ball around a little bit, and on top of spreading the ball around, they had a dynamic rushing game, so you can work in the play-action pass, and you can start, mixing things up. Mm-hmm. This could very easily be a flash in the pan with Kevin Smith, and they could very easily, especially against guys like B.J. Raji and, A.J. Hawk, and, and Clay Matthews. Yep. That running game could just be shut down on Sunday. And if it is, I don't really think that the Lions have much of a chance to win because that Packers secondary isn't exactly something to scoff at. It's going to shut them down. So I'm going to take the Packers. I don't think that this is the game they lose. They're actually more likely to lose a game like the Giants game, maybe.
You would say that.
I know I would say that. But, a team that can kind of go pound for pound with them defensively at times. We know they can run the ball if they have Bradshaw by then. That's maybe more of a likely win.
Sure. I think the Giants are built to play with a team like the Packers. I think they are. I agree with you.